Ding. Skill tree unlock used. Choose between the two skills shown. Enhanced Eyesight LVL1. Iron Clones LVL1. Naruto bowed to the proctor out of habit, before slowly walking back to the stands. Naruto, you've improved a lot. Kakashi thought with pride. I wonder how you took his jutsu head-on, but you probably won't tell me anyways. The old Naruto would have been racing up and down to tell me just how you beat the Inuzuka. His rate of improvement, it's not only amazing, it's terrifying. At the pace he's going, Kakashi wiped away the incoming thoughts, instead focusing on the small body climbing up the stairs. Naruto wasn't paying attention to the crowd as he walked through the stands. He felt kind of sorry for Kiba, who was being placed on a stool to be carried away. It was unfortunate luck that Kiba had to face Naruto in the first round, but it is what it is. Naruto, congratulations! Sakura exclaimed, patting his back. Naruto smiled. Thanks, Sakura. Sasuke just looked at him. I won't congratulate you. It's expected for you to beat Kiba, after all. Naruto nodded. He didn't expect much from Sasuke either. But, I guess I have to win my fight now, Sasuke continued. Sasuke smirked. Because I'll have to defeat you in the finals. Naruto chuckled. You can try, Uchiha. Good job, Naruto, Kakashi said right after. I guess I have to buy you some ramen now. Of course. The bet's the whole reason I actually tried to defeat the brat anyways, Naruto admitted. Well, let's hope the next match for one of us is just as easy. With that, they waited for the next match announcement. Naruto looked back to the screen next to him. Choose between the two skills shown. Enhanced Eyesight LVL1. Iron Clones LVL1. Enhanced Eyesight. It's the exact same skill as last time. As for the other one, Iron Clones. It's like Iron Skin, but more of an advanced version. It's almost like the skills themselves are evolving for me to choose which to unlock. The system blurred into a loading screen before then showing a digital tree of sorts. The skills Iron Skin and Enhanced Eyesight were at the bottom of the tree. The icons above Enhanced Eyesight were shaded black, indicating they were yet to be unlocked, whereas the icon above the Iron Skin skill was a bright white, with the label of Iron Clones next to it. Naruto could see that the more he went through the skill tree, the further and further the skills branched. So far, he couldn't see an ending to the tree. So then came the decision. Enhanced Eyesight LVL1. Info. While skill is activated, the user has a greater understanding of the environment. The range of the user's eyesight is drastically improved as well as the overall perception of moving targets. Alright, it seemed pretty effective, but he still needed to see the other skill before he decided entirely. Iron Clones LVL1. Info. While skill is activated, any active clones the used has summoned will have the effects of Iron Skin. Time of usage and skill cooldown is affected by the number of clones used at one time. That sounds seriously useful. It would be easier for someone to think that one of his clones were actually real if they took more than one or more hits. Furthermore, he would have a lot more firepower with several iron-covered bodies. Naruto could swarm his opponents at once, and they wouldn't know who the real Naruto was until the skill was over. So, while he really wanted to get Enhanced Eyesight, especially when he could barely see people like Fu move while they fought, he also really wanted to get Iron Clones. Choose Iron Clones. Ding! New skill achieved. Iron Clones, LVL1. Usage takes 30 MP and lasts for variable time before a variable skill cooldown applies. 30 MP? What the hell? That's not too bad for a skill that makes my clones just as strong. Naruto thought with a clearly surprised expression. He wasn't sure when he would get the next skill upgrade, but he seriously wanted to get it soon. Naruto might have to choose to get Enhanced Eyesight if the Iron route, as he started to call it, had a mediocre skill next. For now, he could wait. Things were going really well. After all, Naruto, a dangerous, feminine voice whispered from beside him. Oh hell no. Naruto froze as he heard the voice. He slowly turned his head to the side to meet the dark, blazing eyes of one Katsui. Her eyes alone showed just how furious she was, and her fingers were trembling as she tried her hardest to not strangle the troublesome blonde right then and there. Sakura looked curious as she watched the two begin to interact, wondering what the connection was. Sasuke couldn't really care less. Long time no see, Karate. How's the team doing? Naruto asked casually, trying to hide the nervousness. It's been a while. How's the team doing? The girl in front of him repeated incredulously, her face turning red with anger. You're a cheat. What are you talking about? The Uzumaki asked cluelessly. My scroll. You stole my scroll. Naruto shrugged. And? What do you mean, and? Karatsuchi sputtered. I trusted you, and you stole my scroll. Then it was clearly your fault for trusting me, wasn't it? It's a battle, not a written test for someone to be expelled for cheating. Naruto sighed dramatically, placing a hand on Karatsuchi's shoulder. For what it's worth, I felt very guilty for stealing your scroll. But it was merely for your improvement that I did so. You shouldn't trust others so easily. Of course, you can trust me. Don't spout all of that bullshit and distract me, Naruto. You know what you did was wrong. Just accept it and I'll leave, she growled, her eyes flashing dangerously. Naruto felt the anger rise in his own chest. How about you don't take a moral high ground on this and accept the fact that you got tricked and deal with it? Or are you too spoiled to realize you can't trust anyone so lightly and that not everything is handed to you? It doesn't matter if what I did was wrong. It shouldn't matter. You jerk. Karatsuchi yelled one last time, her eyes red and slightly watery. She turned around and began walking away without ever looking back. Wow, she's mad. Naruto thought with a frown. What's with her? Sakura asked, eyes narrowed at the retreating back of Karatsuchi. She's just mad that I stole the Earth Scroll from her. Naruto replied plainly, looking back at the screen in the stadium. You did what? It's a long story. And for the next match of the preliminary exams, Gaara versus Dosu. Naruto watched in silence as Gaara went to the fighting arena with Dosu coming from the other side of the stands. He had no doubts about who was going to win. In fact, he was more so watching to see just how badly Dosu would lose. Ever since the fight back in the Forest of Death, Gaara has been especially quiet. He hadn't looked once into Naruto's eyes, which was surprising for someone who swore that he would kill him. Dosu, with his bandaged face, showed no emotions as he went into the battlefield. Who do you think will win? Sakura asked quietly. Naruto just raised an eyebrow. Getting the message, Sakura stayed quiet. Sasuke crossed his arms as he watched the fight. Naruto assumed he was thinking of his own fight with Gaara at the moment, and probably knew how dominant the Jinchuriki was, even though he didn't actually know Gaara was a Jinchuriki. It had taken him, Neji, and Lee together to actually hurt Gaara at all, meaning beating him in one of the rounds one-on-one was going to be a whole lot harder. Hajime. The fight started. Sand exploded towards Dosu with frightening velocity, but the latter managed to dodge the first burst with his surprising speed. Naruto watched in shock as Dosu actually managed to close up on Gaara without being hit by the sand, which was practically impossible for most of the genin that were gathered. He's fast, Sasuke muttered. Yeah, faster than me, at least, Naruto replied with a frown. He needed to find a way to get faster. If only the skill tree gave him choices which were related to his physical attributes and made him faster, he would take them in a heartbeat. While stuff like iron skin and iron clones sounded awesome, he found that the simpler abilities which would automatically give him a buff without any other consequences to be much more straightforward and effective. Right when another stray of sand was about to strike Dosu in the heart, his gauntlets released a shockwave of energy, or sound, that pushed away the sand extremely easily, making way for Dosu to actually get a hit on Gaara. But of course he didn't. More and more sand came after the masked boy, who had to unleash his gauntlets to the maximum to keep it at bay. His eyes widened when he realized he couldn't do so for much longer. The fight was practically over. Dosu didn't have much an offensive arsenal compared to the Gaara, who didn't have a wide variety of moves, but his sheer control over the sand was enough to break through almost all defenses. Paired with his near-impenetrable defense, the Jinchuriki was unstoppable, and Dosu knew that. Putting a hand up, he prepared to forfeit. Well, that's a smart way of going through with it, Sasuke snorted. Naruto has to agree. No words came out Dosu's mouth. The audience burst into a collective amount of murmurs, each of them wondering what the hell Dosu was doing. Wait, Sakura exclaimed. Is that sand? Naruto walked over to where Sakura was sitting, seeing that she had a better view of the whole occurrence, with Sasuke following behind soon after. She was right. A bar of sand blocked Dosu's mouth, preventing him from saying anything. His eyes were practically bulging out of their sockets now, as he stood still with a hand in the air. To everyone else, it simply looked like Dosu was out of his mind. Naruto frowned. What is Gaara doing? Sand burst beneath where Dosu was standing, immediately surrounding the boy, who tried to jump upwards as soon as possible, but was too late. The sand had circled around him like a sphere, blocking any sort of escape from the second Dosu saw it. Dosu forfeited to gravity and was immediately put back down. It all happened too fast. The sand enclosed around Dosu, whose eyes spoke for themselves, even if his mouth couldn't. Naruto could feel the fear in Dosu's eyes. Soon enough, Dosu was nowhere to be seen, covered by an armor of sand that rose around 10 meters into the air. At first, the dome was large enough to fit a regularly sized genin. Then it shrunk. The crowd watched in horror as the ball of sand began to decrease in radius, and soon began to gasp in fright as red blood dripped from the dome and onto the floor. At that point, there was no question that Dosu was severely mutilated, if not dead by then. Before the proctors could even say any objections, Gaara squeezed his open palm into a fist. The ball shrunk into the size of a cannonball. Blood exploded outwards from the quick transformation of the container that once held Dosu. Gaara smiled evilly as he released his clenched fist, causing the ball to dissipate into regular sand that fell dramatically to the floor along with the crumpled and torn-down bones of Dosu. The audience was filled with shrieks of terror as they saw that happen in front of them, while the jonins merely stayed quiet and watched. Naruto could tell that even they were surprised by the show of aggression. The blonde just narrowed his eyes at the Jinchuriki in front of him. He's pure evil. Some genin just vomited into the stadium below, disgusted and horrified by what they saw, whereas others just mutely watched the aftermath. Sakura's eyes were just as wide as Dosu's before he died, and she looked like she was about to run away before Kakashi put a hand on her shoulder and whispered something to her ear. Whatever he said, it seemed to have calmed her down a little bit, but the slightly crazed look in her eye was still present. Naruto glared at the red-haired boy beneath him, the boy who merely grinned before a death he caused. A death which wasn't required. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi stated calmly, bringing the attention of the genin to him. Don't be scared of him. While he may seem impossibly strong, trust me when I say this, I can mold you both to become stronger. Scared? Never. But Kakashi's words still brought some confidence to him. There were holes in Gaara's defense. That was something he realized from the first time he fought the brat. Winner. Gaara? The proctor stated with some hesitation. He's insane. Ino whimpered slightly. Well, if I'm paired against him in the next round, I'm for sure forfeiting, Shikamaru said plainly. Naruto didn't really blame him. Hinata appeared as if tears were going to fall down her eyes soon. Did he have teeth to do that? Some people are just like that, Hinata. Believe me, I've seen worse people in my career as a shinobi, Kurenai informed the frightened girl. Naruto didn't want to believe that she was telling the truth. Such an unwarranted death. I sincerely hope my youthfulness will be enough to beat the evil of that boy, Lee stated seriously, staring intently at Gaara, who began to retreat into the crowds. Where the hell did Lee come from? Ah, Lee, Naruto said. How exactly did I not notice you yet? Naruto prided himself in being pretty observant, so finding that he couldn't notice Lee of all people, who was fully clad in a bright green suit, coming ho to them was quite demoralizing. Lee looked thoughtful for a second. Maybe because my footsteps are completely silent. What? Naruto looked confused for a second. How did someone make their footsteps absolutely silent? The only people he really knew could do that were Zabuza and Haku, in which the latter must have been trained by the former. He remembered getting the option back in the Wave mission to learn Haku's silent taijutsu, but he didn't have the time to learn it back then, and nor did the archive ability seem to be available. With an interested glance, he asked Lee how exactly he learned to make his footsteps silent. Lee looked at Naruto as if he were joking. I didn't learn. So you're telling me it came naturally? Is that even possible? Naruto asked, flabbergasted. Of course, I'm living proof of it, aren't I? Lee replied, grinning. Why am I asking the goddamn living freak of nature? Naruto thought angrily. Everyone waited for the next fight in a dull silence afterwards, which was promptly broken by the interruption of one certain mint-haired girl. There wasn't any other mint-haired girl he knew of, after all. Heya, Naruto! Fu exclaimed excitedly. Either the girl wasn't present for the fight that just happened, or she simply couldn't read the mood well. Naruto, unenthusiastic, looked up to her shining eyes. Why are you here, Fu? Naruto asked. Humph. That's quite a rude way to introduce your best friend to your team. Hello, everyone. My name is Fu. Sakura was the first to answer. We could tell. Fu, unfazed by the other girl's sarcasm, continued. What are y'all's names? Seeing that his teammates had no desire to answer, Naruto answered for them. The pink-haired one is Sakura, the brooding one is Sasuke, and the tall one is Kakashi-sensei. Nice to meet you all. I'm Naruto's best friend, Fu. I'm sorry, I already told you that, didn't I? Fu asked, laughing. Well, it's good to see you all. Is it all right if I borrow Naruto for a second? Kakashi's eyes twinkled merrily. Of course. It's good to see Naruto making new friends. He's usually always so lonely by himself. Naruto grit his teeth in annoyance, but was also thankful his sensei didn't question her story. Yes, I'm always lonely. I'll see you guys soon. They walked away to some abandoned seats, which was quite uncomfortable for Naruto, who realized what someone else could think at the sight of them. Fu, on the other hand, looked completely unfazed. Why exactly did you pull me away from my team? Naruto asked questionably. It doesn't seem like it, but this is actually quite important, Naruto, Fu said. And for the first time since he met her, her voice actually seemed serious. And what might that be? What do you know about the FUU versus Temari? Naruto just sighed at the inconvenient timing. I guess you're gonna have to go. Fu grinned. Not going to wish me luck? The blonde rolled his eyes. I would if you needed it. Well, let me deal with this real quick. I still have to talk with you as soon as possible, Fu stated. Naruto nodded. Then Fu leaped from the stands onto the stadium below. At this point, Naruto didn't even need to be surprised. The gap between him and her was becoming more and more evident, and it irked him all the more. He needed to defeat Neji quickly so that he could reap the benefits from the quest he was given a few weeks ago. He swiftly walked back to where his team was located, wanting to see the fight for himself as well. His ultimate goal for the Chunin exams was to beat both of the other Jinchuriki, but right now it still seemed completely impossible. Unless he managed to improve at a highly above-average rate, similar to how he did back when he was a mere LVL 5. But one thing he learned as he progressed through the ranks, leveling up got slower and slower as he continued to increase his level, which was balanced by the fact that new features for the system and higher rewards were supplied as he got into higher levels. Shaking his head, he put his mind back into the fight. What did the leaf head want? Sakura asked curiously. Naruto raised an unimpressed eyebrow at the horribly put nickname. She didn't get to say anything, actually. Maybe they weren't there to talk? Kakashi commented. Naruto just sighed and shook his head. As if that could get a rise out of him. Kakashi was going to have to try harder than that, because whatever he just heard was absolutely pathetic. Hajime. The fight was over before he could even blink. Temari began to open a large metal fan, most likely in preparation of a large attack which she assumed would knock out the girl instantly. Fu wasn't normal. The instant Temari opened the fan, she bolted forward with all of her strength, before plunging her fist into Temari's completely open stomach, which ended up knocking Temari unconscious instantly. The crowd watched in shock at the sheer speed of the girl, the previous atmosphere completely destroyed by the stunning victory. Winner. Fu. The proctor couldn't keep the surprise out of his voice. Fu raised a thumbs up to everyone, before leaping back to the stands. Your friend is incredible, Naruto, Kakashi said at last. Sakura and Sasuke looked similarly impressed, with the former much more outward with it. Yeah, I know, Naruto deadpanned. It's kind of the whole reason I became friends with her in the first place. Naruto yelled in his head. He still wasn't sure if Fu was a good person or not. So far, she was only nice around him, but when she fought it was easy to think otherwise. Hey, Naruto gasped in his seat as he heard Fu whisper into his ear from behind him. What the? Come on, let's finish what we were talking about, Fu said, not even sparing a glance at the rest of his team. Sakura looked like she seriously wanted to ask what they were going to talk about, and Naruto probably would have indulged her except for the fact that he really didn't know. Sasuke looked indifferent, though he looked at Fu with a competitive glare that Naruto recognized. All right, again, Naruto sighed. They went up to the higher stands where they were sure no one would be able to hear them. Naruto just wondered what was so serious that it warranted having them completely isolated, but he refrained from asking. He just wanted to get this over with. Hopefully, it really was something important. Fu looked around herself once more before leaning in towards Naruto's left ear. What do you know about the Akatsuki? We have a Discord server. I will provide the link in the description below or comment box, so join if you want to talk about anime, books, fics, games, etc. Let's continue with the story now. Naruto blinked. The what? Fu's eyes twinkled. The Akatsuki. Nope, never heard that word in his entire life. What's the Akatsuki? Naruto asked curiously. Going purely based on her facial expression, it definitely wasn't a good thing. Fu's face darkened. The Akatsuki are a group hellbent on causing trouble for each and every nation there is. No one knows what exactly their motive is, but all we do know is that they somehow exist. Naruto shrugged. And why is that an issue? It's not like a single group can do anything against an entire nation, right? That's what Takigakure thought as well. However, we then found out that the Akatsuki weren't just a regular group. Each member of theirs is a powerful shinobi. I'm talking S ranks, not the party games we're playing in the Chunin exams. A single member could kill each and every person here, with me being a small exception, depending on the member, Fu stated, her voice lacking any tone of overconfidence. She took the topic very seriously and meant every word she said. Naruto frowned. A group of S-rank shinobi who wanted the collapse of the shinobi nations? He felt like he would have heard at least something about them by now. Fu smirked, as if noticing his predicament. Are you wondering why no one knows about them? Naruto nodded in confirmation. Because the Akatsuki haven't truly begun their operations as of now. But once they do, trust me, their name alone will give the Kage migraines. Someone actually made Fu nervous? Naruto was becoming similarly anxious as well, but he still had to make sure of something. The blonde stared into Fu's eyes intently. And what exactly does this all have to do with me? The main target of the Akatsuki are the Jinchuriki. What? Naruto's blood froze. Why, you can't be serious. Fu grimaced. I am, unfortunately, serious. The thought pierced Naruto straight in the brain, rendering him slightly paralyzed for a brief second before he got back into the moment. There was a group of S-rank shinobi that were after him. Put that along with Orochimaru, a crazed Sannin who also was after him. How do you know this all? I had an encounter with one of the Akatsuki members. That person told me from their own mouth. Other than that, my village has a particularly advanced espionage system. Regardless, that is besides the issue, Fu began, her hand coming up to pull the hair that fell over her head back. Besides the issue? Woman, you literally faced a member of the group trying to kill us. I need to know more information. And why would that person tell you anyways? Naruto yelled in his head. There's more? The girl crossed her arms. The longer I stayed in Takigakure, the higher the chance I would end up an easy target for the Akatsuki. My Kage told me this himself. Actually, us Jinchuriki, our lives are at risk every second we stay still. I was going to try and tell the sandboy about the Akatsuki as well, but it quickly became obvious he's a bit too psychotic. Naruto frowned. Wait, you're going to leave your own village? Of course, Fu declared. It's the best option. What about your Friday teammates? Naruto corrected himself. Would you really abandon your teammates so easily? Fu grinned. My teammates. She spread her hands wide. Where are they? They're gone. Naruto. The instant the second exam was over, they forfeited just like that Kabuto guy. What? Naruto quizzed. Why would they leave? Fu bared her canine-sharp teeth. They didn't want to fight me. He shuddered. I don't exactly blame them. Besides, staying in my village endangers them as well, Fu whispered. her eyes downcast. It endangers the entire village itself. Actually, Naruto found himself agreeing. She was right. If the Akatsuki really were as dangerous as she said they were, then leaving the target, especially Fu, who mentioned she has already interacted with one of them before, right in their own village, wouldn't be a very smart decision. Despite the fact that Fu was an incredibly talented shinobi and had a tailed beast inside her, it wouldn't be worth the safety of an entire village. Alright, so you're going to leave your village, and what exactly does that have to do with me? Naruto felt the hair on his arm rise in realization. No, 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 no. I can't. I won't. I can't leave Konoha, my home. It didn't matter if he was risking the village and his safety. He didn't care if he was going to be selfish. He wasn't going to do it. Fu put a hand forward. Naruto, I want you to leave Konoha with me. Dash. Sasuke Uchiha versus Choji Akimichi, the proctor announced. The visible paling of Choji's face was amusing to see. Sasuke nodded in acceptance before leaving for the stadium. Oh well. Goodbye, Choji, Sakura murmured, obviously expecting Sasuke to win. It would be wise to not underestimate your village's genin, Sakura. Choji, as an Akimichi and a capable ninja of his own right, will have many tricks up his sleeve, Kakashi said, not bothering to peek over his book. Naruto stayed silent at that. He also believed Sasuke would win, but he wasn't underestimating the Akimichi by any means. He was simply aware of the fact that Sasuke became several times stronger than the point he was at in the academy, and most of the other genin wouldn't be ready to face him. Why do you look so disturbed, Naruto? Kakashi asked, surprising Naruto with how well he could read facial expressions. He must have been in the umbu or something, because this is just ridiculous. Naruto thought sourly. Nothing, sensei. I'm just worried for Sasuke, that's all, Naruto said meekly, cringing as he heard himself say that. Kakashi just raised his only visible eyebrow. I don't really believe you, to be honest. Why would you of all people be worried for Sasuke? Weren't you the one who said not to underestimate Choji? Naruto quipped back. True, but it simply goes against your character to be worried over such a simple matter, doesn't it? His sensei asked with a smirk that Konoha couldn't see, but knew for a fact was there. Naruto shrugged, trying to swerve the topic somewhere else. He really needed something to distract himself from what the previous conversation with Fu led his mind to. Unthinkable thoughts kept creeping up to his head, and the more they did so, the more they started making sense. He really didn't want to leave Konoha, and right now, he didn't really need to. Naruto didn't have any proof of the Akatsuki except for Fu's words, and in the worst-case scenario, this could all be an elaborate scam to lure him outside the safety of Konoha borders. Although, it might actually be the best-case scenario due to the fact that the Akatsuki were just a lie made by some crazy teenager. But from the look in Fu's eyes, Naruto was practically certain the aforementioned shinobi group did exist, and it was terrifying. The fact that a group of S-ranked shinobi, people who could actually qualify for the rank of Hokage, were after him would leave anyone in a daze of shock. That, and the fact that Orochimaru was after him as well. Yep, a totally normal day for one Naruto Uzumaki. It wasn't Fu's fault for warning him, and she was actually being quite the helpful person by telling him beforehand. But, in Naruto's opinion, she quite literally ruined the rest of the Chunin exams for him. Naruto couldn't even focus on the fight before him as Sasuke and Choji faced off against each other, bowing first. His mind kept wandering to the forbidden fruit that he later found was quite actually poisonous to eat. Hajime. Sasuke dashed forward in an attempt to end the fight as quickly as possible, spinning his kunai in the middle of his fingers. How much has Choji improved? Sakura asked the rest of his boys' team. Shikamaru smirked. A lot. You'll see. Anyway, don't be surprised if our boy gives Sasuke a tough time. Ino nodded in approval. And who exactly are you supporting, Ino? Sakura asked with a glare. Ino looked affronted. My teammate, of course. Naruto was slightly surprised by that. Scratch that, he was incredibly surprised by that. Ino had wholeheartedly admitted she would prefer Choji to win rather than Sasuke. Looked like the blonde had matured, whether she knew it or not. Naruto guessed that training like a maniac during your time as a genin was a good maturing experience for any person, regardless of how they were in the past. He had to stop underestimating people, as it would definitely affect him in the future. Choji was surprisingly quick for his size, having dodged past Sasuke's first strike and engaging in some nimble taijutsu with the uchiha for a few seconds. Sparks flew as kunai smacked against kunai in a crisp manner, increasing the crowd's excitement for the fight. Double weight technique? Choji yelled out, bringing his hands together as soon as he got the space. Naruto watched, gobsmacked as Choji literally grew like someone was blowing air into a balloon. Even Sasuke hesitated for a brief second before he ran forward once more, no longer fazed by the bizarre transformation. Sakura whistled. Wow. But wouldn't that just slow him down, though? If not, make him a bigger target? Naruto asked confusedly. Shikamaru just smiled. That's what I thought as well. But Choji always managed to surprise me the most. A layer of chakra surrounded Choji as he began to literally roll in his humongous form, steamrolling the ground as he moved quickly into the incoming Sasuke. The Uchiha was forced to move aside at the last second to avoid the devastating attack. There was simply no way he would stay conscious if he was hit by that. Choji's will to get stronger was always there. If only he got rid of his stupid eating habit. Asuma mumbled annoyedly. Doesn't the shinobi lifestyle negate all of the calories he gains from eating the junk food? Naruto asked, genuinely curious. Asuma nodded. Yes, but it's probably an Akimichi thing. They most likely don't have much metabolism, but I'm not an actual doctor, so I wouldn't really know for sure just how much stopping the chips would help him. Sasuke leaped into the air, dodging another roll of the living ball of flesh and bones that Choji made. Everywhere he trekked in that form, the floor turned into a broken trail of bumps everywhere, the concrete completely wrecked through. Why isn't Sasuke using his sharingan? Naruto inquired, looking at his sensei with suspicion. He had a sneaking thought that was probably correct. Because I told him not to, Kakashi answered plainly, not bothering to lie to the Uzumaki, seeing no point in really doing so. Are you going to ask why I did so? Yes. I need something to motivate him. The Sasuke we know won't be able to go far into the exams if he faces off against someone like your friend from earlier. I need drastic improvement as fast as possible. And that starts with his physical capabilities. If your teammate can't defeat someone without the use of his sharingan, there's no point in training him to win in the Chunin exam, Kakashi stated bluntly. Isn't that extremely overconfident of you to do so? Weren't you the one who said not to underestimate our Konoha genin? Naruto inquired with obvious bewilderment. His teacher seriously had a split personality disorder. It had to be the only answer. I was telling that to you too. Sasuke is a lot more mature to handle these things, though I can see you doing it as well these days. Regardless, have some trust in your teammate to come out on top, Kakashi said with a note of finality, ending the discussion entirely. Watch the fight and see what exactly you can improve on. Right now it was a game of cat and mouse as Sasuke dodged all over the place as Choji began bulldozing around the whole arena, hoping for the best, and that he would be able to actually hit the Uchiha once. It didn't seem like it was going to happen at this rate. Naruto had to applaud the Akimichi for his sheer chakra reserves to be undergoing that transformation for such a long time. But Sasuke had more chakra now. Much more chakra in comparison. Lightning release. Lightning slash. Arcs of blue light erupted from Sasuke's hand in an X shape in front of him, clearly trying to stop the rolling Akimichi. Naruto was impressed by the size of the jutsu, if he was being honest. The lightning buzzed dangerously as the ball got closer and closer, before disappearing entirely once Choji got out of his ball shape. That's when Sasuke moved. His hands moved in a flash, throwing lightning-charged shuriken at the target. Choji, in his somewhat exhausted state, moved sluggishly away. A few shuriken nicked his clothes due to his lack of movement, making the Akimichi gasp in pain at the contact with the flying electricity and drawing blood almost instantly. Sasuke's face was in a wide grin as he started to begin his onslaught on Choji. While Choji was surprisingly nimble as Naruto noticed earlier, he still wasn't as proficient in taijutsu as the Uchiha, who had a fluid and quite technical way of fighting that could beat everyone other than a certain green beast. Oh no, Sakura whimpered. Choji, Ino whispered silently. Sasuke attacked each and every opening that Choji presented to him, not giving a single shred of mercy to the bumbling boy, who looked like a deer caught in the dark while he continued to resist Sasuke's barrage. It wouldn't last forever. Choji was being pushed back with every jab, kick, and fake that Sasuke delivered. The rotund boy kept his hands up, blocking 50% of the hits. One roundhouse kick managed to sneak through his guard, hitting him straight in the liver. Choji gasped at the sudden pain, before falling to his knees soon after, clutching at the area where Sasuke had hit him. It's practically over, Naruto thought with a frown. Sasuke looked over Choji with a pitying expression. Forfeit, Choji. And never, Choji grunted out, his face scrunched up in pain. I can either make this painful or not. It's for you to decide. I won't lose this way. Never again. Choji yelled in frustration, his legs quivering in exhaustion. In one last-second, desperate act to win, he swung his hand to punch Sasuke right in the stomach. His fist contacted Sasuke's stomach with a ruffle of the latter's clothes. Sasuke clearly wasn't affected by the pathetic attempt at a punch. Naruto looked back at Shikamaru, wondering what he was thinking. He was probably worried for his teammate and hoped that the fight would end soon. He felt fear when he saw the utter smirk on the Nara's face. No. Organ expansion technique. Choji's hand grew instantly in size, as the boy immediately threw all of his strength into the punch at the last second. The enlarged hand seemingly pushed through Sasuke's gut, the boy being knocked back 20 meters of distance in an instant. The blood that was coughed onto Choji's face wasn't his own. Sakura gasped as she saw what happened. He can't really control it perfectly, and doing it really is a waste of chakra, but it certainly can surprise any unsuspecting shinobi. Especially when Sasuke doesn't have his beloved sharingan activated, Shikamaru said, his eyes glinting with excitement. Naruto just stared, shocked at what just occurred. I underestimated him again. Although Choji's hand immediately deflated and the boy began to clutch it in pain, it was undoubtedly impressive to begin with. Sasuke laid in a heap on the other side of the stadium, with Choji rising up to his legs. This wasn't looking good. Get up, Sasuke, Naruto shouted with his hands surrounding his mouth. As if his words were some sort of awakening ritual, Sasuke got up. He was clearly in pain if the way he was holding his gut was any sign. The uchiha spat his blood-stained saliva to the side, before eyeing the Akimichi in front of him with contempt. Sasuke moved once again. He got even closer this time around. It was as if the genin wasn't even afraid of the possibility that Choji could hit him with the same attack once more, regardless of the fact that using the technique also hurt the Akimichi himself. For the win, it looked like Choji was willing to fight to the death. Naruto wasn't even sure who would win anymore. It was almost like fate would repeat itself when Sasuke went into close quarters again, but Naruto knew that his teammate wouldn't let that happen once more, not if he had an option anyways. Choji's hand enlarged once more, making it much harder to dodge as Sasuke continued to dash forward regardless of the technique. He had definitely seen it, but didn't seem to care one bit. Time slowed as Choji swung like last time, the clear target in front of him doing nothing to dodge. Except nothing hit. Sasuke seemed to know exactly where Choji would attack. The raven-haired genin leaped forwards, letting the hand go underneath his now completely horizontal body in the air. He grasped Choji's neck and twisted around to his back, where Sasuke quickly held the boy in a grappling position that left his hands completely immobile. A kunai was held to Choji's neck once more. Your enlargement technique? You can only do it with your right hand as of now, correct? Sasuke questioned, no expression on his face as he absorbed his victory. Naruto hadn't even noticed that. Choji nodded hesitantly. Sasuke pressed the flat side of the kunai harder to Choji's neck. Forfeit. You don't have any more tricks in the bag, do you? Choji sighed. I surrender. Winner. Sasuke Uchiha. The proctor announced. Sasuke immediately got out of his position before placing a hand for Choji. The boy gladly accepted. Naruto felt his eyes widen in surprise. Sasuke wasn't acting like a jerk for once. Your technique? I wasn't expecting it all. Thank you for the good fight, Akimichi, Sasuke murmured, before putting his hands into his pockets and walking back. Naruto felt his eyes tearing up. His pupil had finally learned to express gratitude. What's next? Would he say sorry as well? He only had to wait to find out. Shikamaru sighed. Well, It was bad luck for Choji to be paired up with Sasuke. I'm going to have to cheer him up later on. Ino looked like she was on the verge of tears. He tried his best. Choji is seriously so cool. For sure, Naruto agreed. Naruto quickly congratulated Sasuke, who walked towards them with a slightly smug smile. He issued a quick thanks before sitting back down. Kakashi's eyes twinkled as he saw his genin. He didn't particularly find the need to congratulate the Uchiha. Sakura gushed over Sasuke's injuries, who ensured he would be fine. A lot of the other Konoha genin came to congratulate Sasuke, who quickly waved them off. For the next fight, Rock Lee versus Karen. The red girl with black glasses looked nervous at being called so fast, but nonetheless trudged towards the stadium. Lee's going to win, Naruto said immediately. How would you know for certain? Ino asked questioningly. Is it because she's a girl? Naruto quickly backtracked. No, it's because Lee is one of the top contestants here. I don't see him losing so quickly. Besides, I'm friends with Fu, and she's definitely the strongest genin here. Oh, the green-haired girl from earlier? Shikamaru asked. Naruto nodded. Yes, that's the one. Well, I'm going to say Karen is going to win, Ino stated with confidence. You don't even know how she fights. Sakura exclaimed. He doesn't really look like it, but Lee is very strong. Lee faced off Karen in the middle of the stadium. For once, the boy finally seemed serious. It looked like he wasn't the type of person to underestimate their opponent, no matter who he was facing off against. Hajime. Lee rushed forward, immediately closing up against Karen. Naruto thought the fight was over the moment he did that. Lee was just too fast for the girl to react to. Especially with his sheer acceleration, the moment the fight started was too much to handle. Lee's kick landed directly on the girl's gut, kicking her backwards 10 or so meters. Lee looked simply confused, as if he didn't know just how fast he was. Don't tell me she's unconscious already, Naruto thought incredulously. Her face was completely covered by the mop of messy red hair, so it was impossible to see whether her eyes were open or not unless you had a byakugan. Sakura looked at Ino with a smug smile. Well? Ino refused to say anything. Naruto froze as he felt a sudden burst of chakra erupt from the girl. What the? Golden chains of chakra erupted from her body and towards Lee, who waltzed backwards in surprise at the sudden technique. The chains were incredibly fast, however, and one managed to catch up to Lee, whose only option was to kick it back. The chains didn't budge at Lee's kick, instead preferring to wrap around the boy's leg. Lee struggled with his leg as he tried to get it out of the hold, his eyes widening as he saw Karen begin to slowly rise. Ino's smile widened. Sakura? Sakura just looked confused. Then the chains promptly broke. Lee stopped moving his leg as he realized he was free, and that Karen's body was once again slumped to the floor. Another person who can't control their abilities. Naruto sighed. It seemed to be becoming a pattern. The fight was quickly announced as Lee's win, as the audience simply groaned at the anticlimactic nature of it all. After such an entertaining match like Sasuke's, they expected more from the duo in front of them. Poor Lee. He just looks confused. Naruto thought with pity. They carried Karen's unconscious body towards the medical room when Naruto had the sudden urge to do something. Karen's abilities are interesting, to say the least. Observe. Observing. Observation successful. Name, Karen Uzumaki. Title, The Blood of Healer. Occupation, Genin of Kusagakure. Level, LV 14. HP, 100 out of 100. MP, 100 out of 100. Chakra, 500 out of 500. STR, 9. Vit, 14. Dex, 4. Int, 7. Wis, 3. Luck, 4. Uzumaki, Naruto shouted out in surprise, his voice reaching octaves he didn't think possible. He just stood in shock as every genin in the premise began to stare at him as if he were a psychopath. Things just keep getting more and more weird. Yo, I hoped you liked the chapter. Firstly, Fu's proposal to Naruto. What's he going to do? What do y'all think he's going to do? Sasuke ain't that much of a jerk, apparently. Which I don't think is that much of a surprise considering he didn't get the seal this time around, and that I kind of buffed Choji. I'm sorry, but I had to do it to make the fights more interesting. Lee's win against Karen, not unexpected, but a weird way it played out. I don't see Karen winning without the chains, TBH. Naruto just watched in shock as he went over the stats list that was floating on the screen next to him over and over again. There was no way this was real. There had to be another Uzumaki clan or something. Naruto didn't know much about his heritage, but from the brief mentions the old man sometimes gave him, he knew his clan was an ancient one. There was no way another Uzumaki was alive. Besides, they looked nothing alike. Blonde hair versus bright, devilish red hair. How did they even compare? But even Naruto knew that argument was absolutely flawed. Just because the hair color was different didn't mean they weren't related. Naruto most likely got his father's hair. Since his father's last name would be transferred to his mother and hence him, it was easy to assume his father was an original Uzumaki. Yet, it made no sense. Why didn't anyone else know? Naruto could only tell because he had his observability. Who knows how long he would have lived without knowing he had Uzumaki relatives alive if he didn't get the sixth sense to cast an observe on her. He had to talk with Karen once the preliminary exams were over. He just couldn't find it in him to do so right now. With the Akatsuki fiasco racking his every second that passed, he couldn't deal with any more right now, especially when he needed to continue to win in the exams right now. Naruto? What are you doing? Sakura asked, embarrassed that so many people were looking at them. Sorry, Naruto replied, looking around him. He didn't really realize that his outburst gathered a lot of attention, even though he probably should have noticed that it did. Naruto especially didn't notice how Kakashi sent him a suspicious glance. Sakura looked pissed. Why were you yelling your name? Naruto scratched the back of his head. I really don't know. Whatever. Sasuke glared. Don't behave like an idiot, doe. We have other villages watching us right now. Are you finally regressing back to the old Naruto? Oomph. Naruto snorted, annoyed that everyone was ganging up on him. I didn't mean to yell like that. That really wasn't a lie, to be fair. Next match. Karatsuchi versus Tintin. Karatsuchi. Naruto answered immediately. Why? Sasuke asked. Trust me on this one. She has some surprising abilities you're going to see in this fight. Naruto answered with a smirk. Oh, right. You encountered her a few times before, right? Sasuke asked rhetorically. The fight started without any delay. Lee had immediately started shouting in favor of Tintin, motivating her so to speak, which didn't really differ from what he expected from his normal behavior. Tintin started instantly with a barrage of shuriken that she threw towards her, which the latter easily dodged right afterwards. Silly Tintin. Naruto thought with a grin. Shuriken don't actually hit the opponent, do they? Naruto was definitely surprised when Sasuke's shuriken managed to even scratch Choji, but he put that to the fact that they were coated with lightning chakra, which definitely made them more quickly thrown and dangerous. It seemed that Tintin wanted to go all out in the first half of the match, as she quickly yelled out her technique right afterwards. Twin Rising Dragons. A cloud of smoke blew into the stadium as two streams of scrolls rose into the air with Tintin, who also jumped upwards. Almost immediately, a stream of shuriken, kunai, swords, and other weapons began streaming downwards towards Katsui, who didn't really look at the least bothered by what was coming towards her. She simply stood and fixed her short length of black hair that was ruffling in the wind. Naruto just watched, wondering what the kunoichi would do. If he was in her place, he would probably activate Iron Skin, but if he couldn't do so due to a cooldown, he would most likely just activate some clones that would take some hits for him. That, or use some water jutsu that would completely destroy the momentum of the incoming weapons. Lava release, lava wall. Or do that, I guess. Lava itself rose from the earth in front of Kurotuski, forming a dense wall that prevented any of the projectiles from reaching the shinobi behind it. Lava release? Sasuke repeated, awed by the technique used. Naruto nodded with a grin. Yep. How come I've never heard of it before? Sasuke asked himself more than he asked Naruto. It must be some sort of Kekkai Genkai, right? I'm not exactly sure. Though it's definitely not the normal element. They focused their attention back on the fight, with Tintin now on the defensive as Karatsuchi made her way forward into the battlefield, looking to need the battle as fast as possible. Does Tintin have any other trump card than her weapons? Naruto asked tentatively, not wanting to offend her teammates. Lee just sighed. Tintin is going to win. I believe in her will and youthfulness. Naruto's sweat dropped. You didn't answer my question. Lava release. Swarming ash cloud. Karatsuchi yelled, going through a complex series of hand signs. There it is, Naruto murmured, recognizing the jutsu. Karatsuchi had used the same one against Fu of all people, where it actually succeeded in briefly stopping the juggernaut Jinchuriki. A concentrated cloud of ash blasted forward and towards the unsuspecting Tintin, who just watched the attack with amusement. To her, it just looked like a harmless stream of smoke, or a cloud itself was summoned to attack her. Is that all you got? Huh, I expected more from our so-called rivals from IW. Tintin shouted mockingly. Naruto face-bombed. Yeah, that wasn't a smart move at all. Karatsuchi's eyes hardened. Solidify. The ash cloud around Tintin's lower half immediately began hardening, trapping her entirely. The entire audience just watched in awe at the use of the highly effective technique. It seemed no one expected that the jutsu would do such a thing. Tintin tried to speak in protest but found that a layer of ash solidified around her mouth, no doubt controlled by Karatsuchi, who had a smug smile on her face as she walked closer to Tintin. Karatsuchi beckoned towards the proctor. Proctor, I can kill her right now if I wanted to. Seeing that she has no technique or method to get out of my jutsu, I see this as an absolute win. I agree with your statement. Winner. Karatsuchi from IW. Naruto clapped slowly as he processed the win. Karatsuchi might be tougher than he thought to beat as he went ahead in the exams. He kind of hoped Tintin had someone pulled the win from a wild miracle if anything. Next match, Sakura Haruno versus Shikamaru Nara. Oh no. Dash. You can do this, Sakura. Naruto shouted out to his teammate. In his heart, he really knew Sakura couldn't do this. By level alone, Shikamaru wasn't too far ahead of her, but his sheer intelligence made up for that fact. The matchup wasn't really fair to begin with, but there really wasn't anything for the Uzumaki to do despite cheering for his teammate. Sakura is going to lose, Kakashi said simply. Naruto was simply astounded by how blunt their sensei was being. What? He could hear Sasuke snorting. Kakashi continued without an inch of remorse in his choice. It's the truth. I really don't see her winning unless a miracle happens. In the career we are in as shinobi, we can't afford to be anything but realistic, Naruto. Regardless of whether Sakura is my student or not, I only wish for her improvement, but any unrealistic expectations out of her would only harm her own mental state. Naruto just nodded briefly in agreement. Hajime. Sakura dashed towards her opponent with a kunai in her hand, throwing it at Shikamaru, who lazily dodged the attack with a frown on his face. The pink-haired eventually got close enough to engage in close-quarters combat, where she, in Naruto's opinion, held the clear advantage. Her best bet was to close up on Shikamaru as much as possible and continue to batter him with punches and kicks that he was simply too slow to counter, and quickly tire the Nara and finally deliver a finishing blow that could win her the fight. If things were only so easy. Shikamaru wasn't known for his taijutsu prowess, but he wasn't a slouch at fighting either. He managed to counter a few times and even get the upper hand on Sakura before his lack of speed came to bite him in the end. Naruto wasn't sure who was going to win at this point, because while Sakura had the advantage currently, Shikamaru clearly had some sort of trump card he didn't bother to use yet, if the way his teammates didn't look worried was any sign. Asuma almost looked amused, if anything. Sakura immediately pulled back when she saw Shikamaru begin to run through hand signs, which, in Naruto's opinion, was a horrible move. There was no way for Shikamaru to produce a jutsu that could defeat Sakura in such a short span of time, and he was proven right when Shikamaru simply stopped his hands midway and closed his eyes. Wait, why was he closing his eyes? He's thinking. Asuma answered for him. Shikamaru is one of the smartest people I know, and I've met a lot of people. He's probably thinking through 100 ways he could beat Sakura right now, and would settle for the one which would take the least effort. Naruto believed the man. Shikamaru's intelligence wasn't to be scoffed at, and he didn't need to see the Nara's stats to see that. Shikamaru opened his eyes. TCH. I wanted to win without using that jutsu. Great. Now everyone knows my technique. The pure annoyance in Shikamaru's voice was funny, to say the least. Why were his hands clasped together? Wait. Sakura. Naruto began to warn. It was already too late. Sakura suddenly found herself unable to move as a dark shadow stretched from Shikamaru to her. What kind of jutsu is that? Naruto asked no one in particular. It seemed to be controlling Sakura's body, or more well put, making Sakura mirror what Shikamaru was doing. Slowly, Shikamaru reached into his right pocket, where there was nothing to be seen. There was nothing in Shikamaru's right pocket, however. In Sakura's, her kunai was right there. Shikamaru clasped the air in his pocket, whereas Sakura was forced to clasp the kunai to her trembling horror. The fear in her eyes was visible to everyone. The Nara gave a cold glare to Sakura before pulling up his hand to his neck. Forfeit, Sakura. I surrender, Sakura said with a resigned voice. Shikamaru clapped his hands together in a show of rare thanks before bowing. Thank you for making the fight short. Even the proctor looked impressed. Winner. Shikamaru Nara. A brief applause sounded before everyone went back to waiting for the next round. Sakura came back to the stands with an obviously disappointed expression. I'm sorry I couldn't win, guys. Don't worry, you tried your best, Sakura, Naruto said, his eyes expressing his understanding. There's always a next time once you get stronger. Sakura nodded slowly, her eyes beginning to water. She slowly creaked her head to Sasuke, who watched her with an indescribable expression. Sasuke smiled. He genuinely smiled. Do better next time. Sakura immediately began crying before nodding and profusely promising she won't lose again. Kakashi watched with a proud face as he saw the maturity in his team, something he definitely didn't expect to see when he first saw the batch of kids. It was amazing just how much they managed to grow in such a short amount of time. Next match. Neji Hyuga vs. Ibuki. Naruto's ears perked up when he heard Ibuki's name. He was the teammate of Karatsuchi, and definitely could stand a chance against Neji if he had a similar level of skill compared to his teammate. He was going to watch the fight hoping for Ibuki to win. Fingers crossed. Dash. Naruto could only watch with his mouth wide open as Ibuki surrendered the match after only a minute of fighting. It was an absolute thrashing. Neji simply countered every single move Ibuki made, and excelled over everything his opponent offered. Taijutsu. Neji had the clear advantage. In terms of speed, Neji was many times faster than Ibuki. He looked stronger as well. The second Ibuki had slipped into melee range, his chakra was immobilized, rendering all of the techniques that he spent learning for hours useless. Of course, Naruto didn't need to guess Neji's attributes. He could just check them himself. Observe. Name, Neji Hyuga. Title, not applicable. Occupation, Genin of Konoha. Level, LV 20. HP, 100 out of 100. MP, 100 out of 100. Chakra, 200 out of 200. STR, 14. Vit, 15. Dex, 15. Int, 7. Wis, 5. Luck, 3. Comparing him to Ibuki was like comparing a Hokage to a Genin. It simply wasn't possible for the IWA Genin to win. It seemed Neji thought the same as well, if the monologues he was spewing had any ground to them, saying that he was destined to win the fight from the second their names were announced, and that Ibuki could only accomplish whatever was set for him the moment he was born. Obviously, that didn't sit well with the audience, who took a blatant disliking of the talented Hyuga. Naruto couldn't really blame them. He didn't like the kid either. The next fight, Shino vs. Kankuro, was an anticlimactic one. The second Shino revealed his bugs. Kankuro literally shrieked out loud. He immediately forfeited, saying that he was allergic to bugs, and more importantly, terrified of them. Who would have thought the hotshot was scared of bugs? Naruto, though, grinning in amusement. With that said and done, the next fight was announced. Next match, Hinata Hyuga vs. Ino Yamanaka. Naruto wished both of the girls luck as they proceeded to the stadium, where they faced off each other with the determination to win obviously present. Prediction? Sakura asked the blonde. You've been accurate so far. Naruto thought for a minute. He really had no idea about the capabilities for either of them, nor did he really have the need to find out. Personally, he just assumed that Hinata would win based on her family taijutsu, but he didn't really know how strong Ino was. He was absolutely right. The fight was almost as one-sided as Niji's own fight, with a few moments where she seemed to be holding well. Hinata's taijutsu wasn't as fast nor as efficient as Niji's own, but it appeared to be just as honed. He could see she spent hours of her day practicing the Hyuga style, and that was enough to beat Ino, who simply couldn't keep up with the other girl. Wow, I never knew Hinata was that strong. Sakura mumbled, envy present in her eyes. Naruto didn't really know either, to be fair. It doesn't cater how strong she is. She won't last in the next stage if she doesn't get stronger than this, Sasuke proclaimed, his eyes narrowing onto the Hyuga. Ino was completely outclassed, and it showed with how fast she was forced to forfeit. The crowd erupted into cheers as the match concluded. With that, the preliminary exams were finally over. The proctor stood forward. As of now, the preliminaries to the third and final exam are over. I urge the qualifiers to please come forward. Kakashi signaled for the blonde to come forward. Naruto, I'm going to go out for a bit. I have a few important errands to run. Listen to what they say for me, will ya? Errands? Now? Naruto questioned, curious as can be. Kakashi nodded slowly. Yes, now be a good genin and do what your Jonin-sensei tells you to do, all right? Naruto gritted his teeth before staring at Kakashi blankly. Tell you what again? Kakashi chuckled. I'm afraid my own techniques don't work on me. I'm the copy ninja, not you. Well then, goodbye. Their sensei left without another word, leaving Naruto and the rest of Team 7 to watch the rest of what happens alone. There were 10 students left in the stadium, with the other teammates who couldn't qualify watching from the stands. I'll begin to explain the final stage of the Chunin exams. So please do listen carefully, Hiruzen ordered. His eyes narrowed in seriousness. The final stage of the Chunin exams is a spectacle meant for everybody to see the respective talent of all the nations across the world. There will be a large audience watching the fights, which will be important in the future. Many important people will be watching them, and how successful your career as a shinobi will be depends on how you perform in front of them. Now, for the first announcement. The finals will start a month from now. Murmurs broke through the arena as the message came across. Why exactly was there a month-long break? Hiruzen smirked, amusement showing through his wrinkled but wise features. The answer to your questions is the simple fact that it takes time for the Kage to clear their schedules and visit to another land altogether, especially with the large distance some are located from here. Another reason is for you all to strategize and improve as much as possible in this short period of time. Gather information, weaknesses, and strengths about your enemies, and risk it all for the victory. The finals are a whole other breed compared to the previous stages. You are capable of being injured, but you must persevere through the pain to win. And now, we must conduct the drawings which will decide who will fight who. The genin went one by one, drawing out a number from the small box that Ibiki, the proctor for the first exam, handed them. Naruto looked at his number carefully. 2. He looked over at Sasuke. What did you get? 5, Sasuke recited, looking around at the rest of the genin. Everyone, please recite your number to Ibiki over here, the Hokage instructed. Ibiki listened intently before writing down something onto the paper which was clipped onto the board he had in his hands. Ibiki looked up from his paper, his face twisted into a perfect poker face, refusing to reveal any emotions. The initial matches are as follows. Everyone leaned forward unconsciously, eager to see who was fighting who, if not anxious. The first fight is Naruto Uzumaki versus Rock Lee. Naruto dropped his kunai to the floor. I've lost, I've lost, I've lost. Naruto continued to recite to himself, absent-mindedly walking on the streets of Konoha. Why do you think you already lost before you actually fought? Fu asked, walking beside him. Because Lee is incredibly strong. Naruto exclaimed loudly. Too strong. Too strong for me to beat in a month. Anyways, Fu just chuckled, but didn't say anything afterwards. Not everyone gets to skip a match entirely, Fu. Naruto rebuked instantly. If only I had picked your number. Because there were 10 genin still remaining in the tournament bracket, 2 genin would have to skip the first match and fight against 2 of the winners of the first match, effectively having more time to prepare and observe compared to the others. On the other hand, those who fought were more in the moment, and could carry some of their momentum into the next match. It doesn't matter if I'm going to win anyways, Fu stated as a matter of factly. Naruto didn't say anything. He never wanted to beat Fu more after what she just said. The sheer confidence in her voice was actually annoying to hear, and Naruto just wanted to beat Fu in the finals for saying that. He still wanted Sasuke to beat Fu, but didn't see that happening with just how monstrously strong the girl was. Neji was the other genin who got to skip the match, getting the number 3. He was also the person who Naruto would fight if he managed to somehow beat Lee, but at this point, it was more likely that Lee would be fighting his teammate in the quarterfinals. On his side of the bracket, there was also the fight Katsuki versus Shikamaru, who Naruto would face if he managed to get to the semifinals. He was also just as envious of Sasuke, who had an easy fight with Hinata, but also felt bad considering he was in the same bracket side as Gaara, who was facing off against Shino. With how he was currently, there was no way for Naruto to win. He knew that, and so did Lee. The moment the bracket was announced, Lee had come up to him and wished him good luck, which Naruto replied correspondingly. On the inside, he seriously hoped Lee had some sort of bad luck. I'm going to have to beg Kakashi to teach me a few more jutsus at this rate, and I don't want to beg that man even if my life was at risk. Naruto whispered to himself. Kakashi is going to be too busy training Sasuke anyways. I can't afford to train based on the split attention of our sensei. It's just not pretty. I need a sensei of our own. But who? Fu's eyes lit up. How about me? You? Naruto asked, his lips curling upwards. Why do you look like I'm joking? Of course, me. I'm the strongest person I know, Fu said without hesitation. I don't know. Kakashi is definitely stronger than you. Regardless, no, I can't have you as my teacher. It wouldn't be fair to take your time when you could be preparing or doing something else. Naruto responded to her offer. Fu looked annoyed. For what reason? Naruto didn't know. Although, Naruto suddenly felt a chilling presence overcome him. What the? It wasn't bloodlust. No, the sheer pressure of whatever was there made goosebumps travel through Naruto. Naruto felt a hand on shoulder from behind. Yo, the unnamed voice said. What the? Naruto shrieked in fear, before he finally came to sight of the man in front of him. Who the hell are you? Naruto recoiled as he felt a strong hand slap him on his head, rendering him slightly dazed at the contact. He caught a sight of the newcomer as he held his head, however. Dark skin, white clothings, and multiple swords on his back. You fool, you fool. The name's Killer Bee, though some call me the 8th Jinchuriki. Ya see? Now can you please tell me where I can find a boy named Naruto Uzumaki? N dash. Who the hell are you? You fool, you fool. The name's Killer Bee, though some call me the 8th Jinchuriki. Ya see? Now can you please tell me where I can find a boy named Naruto Uzumaki? Naruto was in absolute bafflement. For one, there was a crazy man who was practically shirtless that was rapping in his face, while moving his hands in some sort of rhythmic pattern that he didn't understand. And all the while, Killer Bee, as he called himself, looked completely serious. He could tell Fu was in shock as well, if the expression on her face was any sort of sign. It showed just how bizarre the situation was if Fu of all people was surprised, considering she was probably the most eccentric person he knew before he met the man before him. Are you deaf, you fool? Killer Bee asked once again, raising an eyebrow over his dark shades. Don't just sit there and drool. Wait, was the man writing those lyrics into his notebook? What the hell? Naruto took a deep breath. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Fu looked angry at him for a brief second before stepping in front of him protectively. He might be with the Akatsuki, she whispered gently. Oh. Naruto instantly became wary. He did recognize the headband on B's head, which was the well-known symbol for Kumo, a rival of Konoha for a long time. If the man before him really was part of the Akatsuki like Fu thought, this would not end well at all, especially considering the fact that Naruto decided to be an idiot and tell the man his name despite knowing that a group of S-rank shinobi were after him specifically. Observe. Observing. Observation failed. Target's level is too high. Would player like a partial observation? Yes/no. Damn it. Yes. Name, Killer Bee. Title, The Rapper. Occupation, Guardian of Kumogakure. Level, HP, 100 out of 100. MP, 100 out of 100. Chakra? STR? Vit? Dex? Int? Wis? Luck? I mean, I can see that he's a rapper, all right? Naruto thought sarcastically. You're Naruto Uzumaki? B asked, tilting his head. Naruto nodded.
Yes.
All right, come with me, you fool. I'ma take you to the Killer Bee school. Be wrapped with efficiency. Then I can teach you how to be this cool. Wait, 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 Fu interrupted, looking distrustful of the whole situation. How the hell can he trust you? We don't even know who you are. Didn't ya hear my rapid verse, you fool? I'm the Jinchuriki of the Eight-Tail, and I'm trying to make sure my buddy here doesn't fail. Be pronounced, his voice taking an aggressive edge. Now don't distract me when I'm with 9, or there's gonna be one less Jinchuriki in line. Fu looked furious as she listened to B's verses. Don't push me aside like that. I'm a Jinchuriki as well, you know? B smirked. Of course I know that, you little midget, but treating 2 brats is over the budget. What did you just call me? Ding. Good timing. Hidden quest. Encountering the Jinchuriki completed. Quest details. Meet and converse with the other 9 Jinchuriki spread around the elemental nations. 3/9 Jinchuriki found. Rewards. Skill tree point. EXP 1800. Amazing. Well, there are clearly advantages from this. 1. I know for a fact that Killer Bee is a Jinchuriki, which means I can trust him to a degree. And second, 1800 EXP and a skill tree point. That's crucial considering who I have to fight in a month's time. Though Naruto quickly realized with a frown that he couldn't trust all Jinchuriki, especially red-haired ones. Fu, Naruto said, placing a hand on his friend's shoulder. Don't worry, I trust him. He's a Jinchuriki for sure. Fu placed 2 hands on her hips. And how would you know? Naruto grinned. Trust me. When I know. He has some good senses for a brat. If only the weird girl could understand that. B stated in response. You said you wanted to be my teacher? Naruto asked the strange man. B nodded. Yes, sir. Why? Why did you come all the way from Kumo for me? Naruto inquired, narrowing his eyes on suspicion. That was the only part of the story that he truly didn't understand. Why would B, a Jinchuriki no less, come so far for Naruto? The question alone kept him from believing B entirely. It's a favor from an old man, you fool. Killer Bee has much more important things to do than take a young kid to school. Naruto's sweat dropped. He didn't miss how B winced at his own line. Did you just repeat the same rhyme as last time? Whatever, please don't answer that. Who's the old man you're speaking of? Jiraiya, the Toad Sage. I tried reading one of his books and couldn't keep my eyes off the page, B said, his eyes turning weirdly glinty at the end. This is just getting weirder and weirder. Why would one of the legendary Sannin care for what I do? Naruto questioned. B sighed. It's clearly a personal issue, so I won't really try and bother. But are you sure that's how you should be speaking to your godfather? What the? Dash. Naruto couldn't believe his ears. Firstly, this crazy man who was a Jinchuriki has apparently traveled across the entire nation to train him just for a favor that he had with his godfather. Oh yeah, and also, that godfather happened to be Jiraiya of the Sannin, someone who he had never seen in his entire life. He genuinely couldn't trust a single thing he was hearing, but he had come to resign with the weirdness of his life by now. Naruto was mostly frustrated by the fact with how much he didn't know. At this point, someone could say his father was the first Hokage, and he could believe them. Fu had excused herself a minute later, saying she had to train as well, but Naruto just believed she couldn't bear to hear another one of the man's rap any longer. Not that he could really blame her, though. Killer Bee had said that their training would start immediately, meaning Naruto wouldn't even have a single day of break after the preliminary exams. Hell, it wasn't even an hour. My rap is just the best. Killer Bee is clearly a level above the rest. Naruto tried not to sigh as he watched the man continue to groove on his own as he walked. He was currently being led to a training ground which B had apparently booked for 2 weeks straight. Naruto really wasn't sure what to think about the man. Clearly, he was strong. Probably the strongest person he had ever seen. Definitely on par with the current Hokage, who was weakened by age and well past his own prime. There was something about his aloof demeanor and causal thinking that made him think so. Others would assume that it was because he was a fool. Naruto knew it was because it was incredibly hard for B to take most things seriously with how powerful he was. They entered the training field, a large expanse of serene green that moved with every breeze of wind. The tranquil sun stared down at them through the expanse of clouds with golden rays of benevolence, easing his skin with the gently warm, but not hot heat. Naruto sighed in relief. What a beautiful... The blonde flew backwards as he felt a fist squeeze into his belly. His eyes bulged outwards, and he immediately spit out some blood as he was knocked back at an incredible speed, but not as incredible as the sheer amount of pain he was feeling at the punch. Naruto felt his regeneration immediately get to work, but it simply wasn't fast enough to tear away the pain. What the hell are you doing? He groaned out. Naruto tried to stand up, struggling to even do so. Killer Bee looked almost smug. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. During a fight, I'll make sure you'll always be ready. In a fight, it isn't always so slow and steady. Naruto felt a serious migraine begin to pop up. This guy is a serious lunatic. Killer Bee crossed his hands. I'm going to train your speed if you want to beat Lee, 'cause that guy is a whole nother breed, you see? Naruto nodded in agreement for once. You're right. Lee is faster than any other genin that I've ever seen. I'm pretty sure he's never actually gone all out either. At my current state, there's simply no way for me to keep up with his speed during a fight. Killer Bee smirked. I'm sure your buddy Lee is fast, but in a race with me, anyone would end up last. Keep up with me during a fight, and I promise you'll be able to keep the green boy in sight. How did he even know about Lee? Whatever, Naruto was afraid to ask. The blonde simply nodded once more, before going into a battle position. Killer Bee's grin widened. You better be ready, you fool. Dash. Naruto couldn't speak. He was afraid something was broken in his throat that prevented him from doing so, but he was also pretty confident it was just the shock from what just happened. The statement that he took a one-sided beating didn't do justice to what exactly happened. A beating insinuated that he had somewhat tried to fight back. No, it was a massacre. Naruto couldn't have done anything. He didn't register one hit on the fool, and worse, the man rapped the entire time he did so. Naruto wasn't sure how he was moving. Actually, he was pretty sure. If it weren't for the QB in his head, he was pretty confident that he would be dead by now. He imagined someone like Sakura having to go through this training and plainly shuddered. Wow, that wouldn't end well. Killer Bee dismissed him from his training after an hour, saying that the training period would increase per day, which was something Naruto tried not to imagine. Regardless of all his complaining, Naruto knew he had to do something extreme to defeat Lee. That boy was a league above him at the moment, and the only way to catch up was doing something like this. He was fortunate Killer Bee was a crazy man, and not actually normal like Kakashi. His team sensei would have most likely insinuated on the dangers of such training and limited the effectiveness of it. Naruto went to the ramen stand that always stood for him during his darkness of times, which quite frankly, was one of them right now. One miso ramen please, with extra pork, Naruto asked Tuchi with a downtrodden expression. Coming right up, Naruto, Tuchi said cheerfully. Naruto took a seat and patiently waited, feeling his aches and pains slowly begin to fade away as he smelt the wonderful scent of freshly cooked noodles and crispy pork slices. He closed his eyes and simply relaxed. Ah, I could drown in this feeling forever. Naruto. Naruto tried not to curse at whoever greeted him, and instead opened his eyes to the visitor who sat next to him. It was certainly a surprise when he saw Kakashi of all people there. Naruto's eyes widened. Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi I smiled. Yo, the one and only. What are you doing here? Naruto asked casually, the hint of suspicion to going amiss by the senior shinobi. Getting ramen, just like you in fact. Even jonins need time to relax here and then, you know? Kakashi responded ever so smoothly. Naruto scoffed. I assumed your idea of relaxation was different from the rest of ours. Regardless, I don't find it a coincidence that you come here the exact same time as me. Look underneath the underneath, right? Touché. Well, can you blame me for trying to find out how my little genin student was preparing for the Chunin exams? Naruto smiled smugly in response. Oh, you came for that? Don't be afraid. I found a suitable teacher. He took a sip of the tea that Tucci had given him with a wink. Kakashi simply nodded, as if he didn't care at all. Oh great. A shame though. I was going to ask Ebisu, a special jonin, for a favor. Naruto almost spat out the tea, which would be a waste of the wonderfully made brew. Ebisu? Are you kidding me? Kakashi chuckled. I'll admit, I don't think it's the best choice considering who you're fighting. I guess you'll be training Sasuke? Naruto asked, already the answer. And thus, he wasn't surprised when Kakashi nodded in confirmation. How's that going? The genin asked nonchalantly, taking another sip of tea. Fine. Of course he won't tell me a single thing. I expected too much from this guy. Tucci placed his bowl of ramen in front of him, and Naruto felt his mouth water at the sight. Bringing out his chopsticks, he began the feast. Ita de Kamasu. Kakashi received his ramen a few seconds later, which made Naruto realize something with a start. The thought was so shocking that he almost dropped his chopsticks. There was simply no way for Kakashi to eat with his mask on. Was there? Kakashi knew this too. He had to. I have to ask, who exactly is your sensei? His sensei asked, blowing on his ramen through the mask like a dunderhead. Naruto smirked. Someone. Naruto attacked his bowl a second later, trying to finish his ramen as quickly as possible. He was surprised to see Kakashi had already finished his bowl. He ate his ramen at the precise moment I looked away to eat, and pulled his mask down and up at the perfect moments to give the illusion he wasn't eating at all. This guy is something else. Naruto thought with a frustrated expression. Kakashi waved at him. All right then, Naruto, I'll be going. Bye, sensei. He disappeared in a twirl of leaves, leaving Naruto alone with himself at the ramen stand. He took out the standard amount of money and gave it to Tucci, who simply gave him a confused expression. Your sensei said his meal was on you. Naruto felt his eyebrow twitch. Dash. Naruto blocked another punch, before dodging another kick. He parried the incoming hook with the palm of his hand, and then flipped over the incoming barge with practiced ease. He was doing it. He was actually doing it. Is it just me? He dodged another fist. Or have you gotten slower? Killer Bee laughed. I decreased my speed by a whole 70%. You fool. Of course. There was no way he could have gotten faster in such a short amount of time. After all, Naruto shouldn't have brought his fragile hopes up. Killer Bee brought his hand down, ignoring the parry with sheer force, before grasping Naruto's shoulder tightly. Naruto felt his control over his body disappear entirely as he was launched into the air with a heave from his current sensei. He paused in the air for a millisecond before coming back down, where he was caught by the shirt midair. Naruto rolled his eyes. Great, now I'm being treated like a ball now as well. Killer Bee dropped him. A ball of snow which will only get bigger as it rolls down. Soon enough you'll be the fastest genin in town. Naruto immediately pulled his hands out, bending his hands at the contact with grass before pushing outwards, putting himself back on his feet. I don't see that happening in a month. And aren't you only staying here for 2 weeks? There's simply no way for me to get faster than Lee. You don't need to be faster than him, you fool. Killer Bee exclaimed. But you just said, listen here, you idiot blonde. You're right, you're a droplet. He's a pond. But in terms of ninjutsu, he's nothing. But you're everything. Naruto's sweat dropped. That was a horrible line. Killer Bee clapped his hands. All right, it's time for the next lesson. But before that it's time I make a confession. Your physical skills are lame, but your rap is subpar. But with me teaching you, I'm sure you'll make it far. What? No, there was simply no way. He had to fight Rock Lee, got him Rock Lee in a couple of weeks, and his teacher wanted to teach him how to rap. This couldn't be happening. It was happening. For the next hour, Naruto had to listen to be explaining the importance of rap and its influence on music culture. Then, of course, he made Naruto rap on his own, where he sighed disappointedly at every lyric Naruto rapped and simply frowned. Rap is gonna die if I leave it to this generation. Y'all expect the talent to appear as if it's some type of magic conjuration. That's why I don't want to rap, you fool. Naruto thought with an annoyed expression. Oh no, it's actually spreading. I think we've done enough rapping, sensei. Naruto gritted through his teeth. How do I defeat Lee? Defeating that boy is no easy task. You hear? Now tell me all of your capabilities, and I'll give you a right steer. Killer Bee responded, and then proceeded to write the lyrics into his notepad. My capabilities? Well, my elemental affinity is water. I have a few jutsus that I can perform against him. Shadow clones, Naruto trailed off. He seriously couldn't tell me about his shadows. That would lead to a whole lot of trouble and questioning that he would rather avoid right now, especially in the midst of the Chunin exams, where a bunch of people would be gathered. He also didn't trust B to keep his mouth shut, but he could tell him about his iron skin. That was a much more believable ability, and Naruto was confident that it wasn't that rare of an ability to have anyways. There was probably more than just a few shinobi in the world who had such a skill, if he was being honest. I can do something called chakra hardening. I pretty much gather my chakra around my body and harden my skin as a result. Though I'm not sure if it's some kind of resurfaced bloodline, or I made some kind of new technique. I can hold the ability only for a short amount of time due to the strain it puts on my body, Naruto said, hoping B would bite on his lie. The man looked like he was listening to Naruto's dying last words. Humph. Well, that makes things easier. This fight definitely got a bit less breezier. Now, I'm just gonna believe all you said was lies, until I see it with my own eyes. Understanding his message, Naruto complied. Activate Iron Skin. Activating. Skill. Iron Skin, LVL1 activated. Usage takes 10 MP and lasts for 1 minute for a skill cooldown of 10 minutes applies. Naruto could practically feel his skin harden slightly, though the weight of his body didn't change one bit. Thank Kami skills existed. Killer Bee stepped forward, before lightly punching Naruto's fist. Whoa. Naruto was surprised he was able to make Bee stop rapping even for a minute. Killer Bee placed his hand below his chin in a thinking position. While this ability isn't very original, it throws the idea of definite failure down the urinal. I firmly believe you have a chance. Now don't waste it and go right back into your battle stance. Naruto sighed and went back into his taijutsu stance, preparing for another beating. Yet this time, it didn't hurt as much. Killer Bee's hits weren't hurting as much. Granted, he was barely trying, but it still meant a lot considering he didn't purposefully weaken himself this time. It showed just how crucial his skill, Iron Skin, was and will be in his fight with Lee. Lee was a monster in terms of speed, strength, agility, flexibility, and basically everything that was needed in terms of physical ability. Naruto was a jack of all trades who picked up a few skills and talents here and there in his travels. What he needed to do was hard counter Lee with pure durability. That was the only path to victory. Either that or summon his shadows, and he knew that wouldn't be possible. And he couldn't do that with just Iron Skin, nor just Iron Clones. He hadn't actually used his Iron Clones ability yet, but he knew what capabilities it would have. Naruto wasn't sure just how strong the ability was, and he needed to do that soon. He would have to use every advantage possible to beat Lee, no matter how dirty it was. And for that he had to do something else. Use skill tree point. Ding. Skill tree unlock used. Choose between the two skills shown. Perfect Hinge LVL1. Iron Touch LVL1. Information, please. Perfect Hinge LVL1. Info. Turn into a perfect hinge, meaning even sensors will not be able to detect your transformation while active. There is no cooldown, but chakra consumption is high. Iron Touch LVL1. Info. Make anything you touch receive the properties of iron. The object has to be in the contact of your hands while doing so. It consumes 10 MP, and the amount of time the object remains as iron depends on chakra used. N-. Yo. Hope you like the interaction. Naruto's life is just getting weirder and weirder. B is one of my favorite characters, so I wanted to do the raps justice LMAO. No more delay. On to the question of the day. Question 1. Which ability do you think and want Naruto to pick? Both of them are really useful. If you want to read the next 3 chapters, and the next chapter tomorrow itself, make sure to join my Patreon. It's $1 for 3 chapter. If you guys would want to join my Patreon, comment, I will provide the link. Thank you.